For the first time in human history, a new alien species had made contact with Earth. They were called the Illyrians, a tall and elegant race with glowing skin and golden eyes. Their ship arrived silently above Earth's atmosphere, shining like a second moon. No weapons, no threats, just a peaceful message. We come to speak. The world watched with wide eyes, governments panicked, scientists cheered, and the media exploded with questions. But the Illyrians didn't want war, trade, or technology. They wanted a ceremonial greeting with Earth's chosen representative, someone calm, respectful, and charming. That's how Jason Reed got the job, a former diplomat, now working with the United Space Alliance. He had a warm smile, a good heart, and knew how to say the right words. But even he wasn't ready for what was about to happen. The meeting was held inside a glass dome built in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It floated like a pearl on the waves, under the Illyrian ship's soft blue light. Jason stood nervously near the center of the dome. Cameras from every country were watching. World leaders held their breath as the Illyrians entered, 6 of them, dressed in flowing robes that shimmered like the night sky. They were all women, graceful, calm, and taller than Jason by a head. Each one was said to be a royal daughters of the High Empress of Illyria. But only one stepped forward to greet him first, the youngest. She looked no older than 20 in human years. Her eyes were full of wonder, and her voice soft like music. "I am Elia, youngest daughter of the royal line," she said. She offered her hand, palm up, a simple gesture. Jason smiled, gently took her hand, and kissed it lightly. The room went silent. The alien guards reached for their weapons. The other sisters gasped. One even shouted something in a language no translator could catch. Jason looked around, confused and nervous. "Did I do something wrong?" he asked. Then the eldest sister stepped forward. "You kissed her," she said coldly. "In our law, that act means binding, a promise of union." Jason blinked. "I just kissed her hand. It's polite." "On Earth, on Illyria," the sister said. "It is sacred." Suddenly the youngest, Elia, blushed, her glow turning soft pink. I didn't know he would do that," she whispered. "But I'm not upset." Jason felt his heart sink. Was this really happening? The leader of the delegation stepped forward, a tall woman with silver markings on her forehead. "I am Serenia, first daughter of Illyria," she said. "You have now promised yourself not just to Elia, but to all 6 of us, as the law demands." Jason's jaw dropped. Wait, all 6 of you?" "Yes," Serenia nodded. "Our people do not separate hearts. If you bind with one royal, you bind with all." Jason turned to the human translators and guards. "Is this a joke? A misunderstanding?" But the translator just looked pale and confused. "This is real, sir," he said. "They want you to marry the entire royal family." The world leaders started yelling through the cums. Some told him to apologize. Some said accept it. Some screamed about war. Jason felt dizzy. In less than 10 minutes, he had caused an interplanetary engagement, and maybe even a galactic war. Elia stepped forward again. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," she said softly, "but I think maybe this is destiny." Jason stared at her glowing face. She didn't look angry. She looked curious, almost hopeful. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the Illyrian ship above. "Prepare the binding ceremony," it said. The lights in the dome flickered, and the floor began to glow with strange symbols. Jason stumbled back. "Wait, don't I get a choice?" Serenia gave him a long look. "You do," she said. "But if you refuse, the Illyrian people will see it as rejection." Jason looked at the cameras, the guards, the glowing aliens, and finally back at Elia. He had just kissed a hand, but now his life might never be the same. The fate of Earth, and maybe the galaxy, hung on his next words, and he had only 1 hour to decide. Jason Reed had faced world leaders, disasters, and political crises. But nothing compared to this. 6 alien queens staring at him, waiting for his answer. His accidental kiss on the youngest Illyrian had triggered something ancient, a sacred Law written in alien stars thousands of years ago. The dome was now silent, except for the low hum of Illyrian technology. The floor still glowed beneath his feet, symbols shifting and circling around him. Behind the glass, Earth's top officials watched in fear. Every camera was rolling, every translator sweating. Jason stood at the center of the storm. One kiss had turned into a galactic engagement. Serenia, the eldest sister, stepped forward again. Her golden eyes studied Jason like a puzzle. "You have 1 Earth hour to respond," she said. "If you accept the bond, you will become royal consort of the Illyrian line." Jason swallowed hard. "And if I refuse?" The air grew colder. Elia, the youngest, looked down, her glow fading. Serenia didn't raise her voice, but her words cut sharp. "Refusal of a sacred bond is seen as betrayal," she said. "To reject the chosen of the royal house is to insult our ancestors." Jason frowned. "So you're saying you'd start a war?" "No," Serenia replied. "Not us. But our people will." Jason's mind raced. He looked at each of the 6 sisters. Serenia, the leader, sharp, proud, and calm. Rena, the warrior, with steel eyes and a scar down her jaw. Thaline, the soft-spoken healer. Vexera, the cold diplomat, who had said nothing so far. Yari, the quiet one in the back, always watching. And Elia, the youngest, who had caused all this. He was supposed to represent Earth, not marry into another planet's royal family. How could this be real? Was he supposed to love them all? Or was love even part of this? He had so many questions, but time was running out. An Illyrian advisor floated into the dome on a light disk. She held a scroll made of glowing energy. It pulsed softly as she handed it to Jason. "This is the law of the stars," she said. "Our most sacred bond." Jason opened the scroll, and a hologram sprang to life. It showed 2 ancient figures, one Illyrian, one alien, kissing hands. It turned into a symbol. Then a bright explosion of light. "In our history," the advisor continued, "when a sacred touch is exchanged, a bond forms. A bond that cannot be undone without great sorrow." Jason asked, "What does that mean for me?" Serenia stepped forward. "It means you are not just a husband, you are a bridge. You will represent Earth to our people. You will be trained, tested, and bonded to our world." Jason's earpiece buzzed, the voice of Earth's president came through. "Jason," the voice said, "this is above diplomacy now. If refusing them causes war, we cannot risk it." Jason sighed. "So you're telling me to marry 6 alien queens?" "I'm telling you to keep humanity alive," the voice replied. "By any means necessary." Back inside the dome, the countdown began. 1 hour, now 40 minutes. The sisters were seated around him. Glowing and silent, Jason looked around. "Can I speak to Elia?" "Alone?" Surprisingly, Serenia nodded. "You may." Jason and Elia stepped into a side chamber, a quiet garden with floating lights. The air smelled like sweet flowers and rain. Elia sat on a crystal bench, her fingers playing with a glowing leaf. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said softly. "I was nervous. You were kind, and I liked your eyes." Jason sat beside her. "I just kissed your hand, in your world. Maybe that means friendship," Elia said. "But here, it's more than words." He looked at her face. Not threatening, not demanding, just honest. "Do you want this?" he asked. Elia looked up. "I don't know. I've never been bound before. But if I have to choose someone, I'm glad it was you." Outside, time was running out. The sisters were waiting. The world was watching. Jason returned to the center of the dome. He looked around at the sisters, some judging him, some neutral, one smiling. He raised his hand slowly. "I will accept the bond," he said. "But I ask only one thing. Let me understand your world, your ways before I truly become one of you." Serenia stood, her robe flowing like silver fire. "You will have your chance, Jason of Earth," she said. "But from this moment, you belong to us." The lights grew brighter. The dome began to sing with strange music. 6 beams of light joined in the center, circling Jason's body. The first stage of the bond had begun, and far above, in the Illyrian ship, a shadow watched, a figure not part of the royal line. Not everyone was happy about the new human consort, and not everyone wanted peace. Jason Reed woke up in a bed that wasn't his. The ceiling above him shimmered like moving water. Soft music echoed through the walls, not made by instruments, but by the building itself. The palace of Illyria was alive, glowing, floating. Breathing, he sat up confused, dressed in royal robes instead of his usual uniform. Last night, he had agreed to the bond now. He was no longer a guest but a royal consort, married, technically, to 6 alien queens, and yet, no one had told him what that meant. There was no guidebook for being a human husband to a Starborn dynasty, no manual on how to behave, who to trust, or how to stay alive, especially when one of the sisters clearly wanted him gone. His first day in the palace began with silence, no greetings, no celebration, just a silent guard outside his door. He was led through glowing hallways, passing statues older than human civilization. Everything looked beautiful, but cold. Like a trap hidden behind glass, the queens were waiting in the court of balance, a floating garden where gravity shifted softly. The 6 sisters sat around a table shaped like a ring of moons. Only one smiled at Jason, Elia, the youngest. The others looked distant, unreadable, maybe even hostile. Serenia, the eldest, spoke first. "You agreed to the bond," she said, "but you still must prove yourself to our people." Jason nodded slowly. "What do I need to do?" "You will face the 3 trials." "Of union," Rena said sharply. Her voice had the edge of a blade. Jason raised an eyebrow. "Trials? Like tests?" "Yes," she said. "Of mind, spirit, and survival." Before Jason could ask more, a sharp sound echoed through the garden. A warning tone. The guards rushed in, weapons drawn. One of them whispered something into Serenia's ear. Her expression darkened instantly. "There has been an incident," she said coldly. "You must return to your chamber, now." Jason was escorted away before he could speak. But he caught Elia's eyes one last time. She looked frightened. Back in his room, Jason paced. What was happening? Was he in danger already? Had Earth made a mistake choosing him? His questions were answered when a shadow moved behind him. A blade shot through the air, aimed straight for his back. Jason ducked just in time. The blade missed by inches. He turned to face a hooded figure, fast, silent, deadly. Before Jason could scream, the figure lunged again. But this time, the door blasted open, and a wave of light knocked the attacker away. It was Thaleen, the healer's sister. She held a glowing staff in one hand and a look of fury in the other. "You dare strike a bonded royal?" she shouted. The assassin vanished into smoke, escaping through the wall like mist. Jason collapsed on the floor, gasping. What the hell was that? He asked. Thaleen knelt beside him, touching his shoulder. "You were almost killed," she said. "Someone among us wants to break the bond and start a war." Hours later, Jason stood before the sisters again. This time, his voice was stronger. "You said I had to face trials," he said. "But I just faced death, and I didn't volunteer for that," Serenia nodded. "You were not meant to face such danger so soon. But now you see the truth. Not all of us agree with this union." Jason looked at them one by one. "Then tell me the truth," he said. "Who wants me dead?" Vexera finally spoke for the first time, her voice cold as ice. "You are a weakness," she said. "You bring Earth's politics into our throne. You kissed Elia, but you didn't earn our loyalty." Jason stepped forward, angry now. "I didn't ask for this," he said, "but I risked my planet to protect yours. I deserve better than secrets and assassins." Silence followed, until Elia stood up. "I believe in him," she said. "He may not know our ways, but he's trying." She turned to her sisters. "Isn't that what matters?" Serenia closed her eyes and nodded slowly. "Then the trials begin now," she said. "Tomorrow, you will face the first. A test of mind." Jason looked around. feeling the tension like a storm. He was now part of something far bigger than a marriage. He was walking a line between romance and politics, survival and love. And somewhere in the palace, someone was still planning his end. The palace of Illyria looked beautiful on the outside, but beneath the shining glass, glowing trees, and floating gardens, it was a maze of secrets, and Jason Reed had just stepped into the shadows. He no longer felt like a guest. He felt like a target. After the assassination attempt, guards were doubled. Doors were locked behind him, and eyes followed him wherever he walked. But none of that mattered, because Jason wasn't just trying to survive now. He was trying to understand the truth. Why had someone tried to kill him? Why did the royal sisters seem divided? And what was the Illyrian council hiding behind their perfect smiles? That night, Jason couldn't sleep. He walked alone through a moonlit corridor, guided only by curiosity and a strange pull in his chest. He passed old murals painted in stardust, ancient symbols showing unions, wars, betrayal, and something that looked like Earth, even long before first contact. It seemed the Illyrians had known about humanity. Then he heard it. A soft sound, like whispering behind a door. He followed the voice to a quiet chamber near the eastern wing. A door was half open, light flickering inside. He stepped closer, silent, careful. Inside, two Illyrian voices were speaking. He recognized one immediately. It was Vexira, the cold, silent sister who had always hated him. The other voice was deeper, metallic, unfamiliar. It wasn't Illyrian. It was someone from another empire. Jason leaned in, holding his breath. "We don't have much time," Vexira said. "The human is bonding with them. Faster than we expected," the voice replied. "Break the bond before it's complete, or your place's heir is gone. He cannot stay alive." Jason's chest tightened. So it was true. One of the royal sisters was working with outsiders and wanted him dead. He backed away, too fast. The floor creaked under his foot. Silence from the room, then footsteps. Fast, loud, running toward him. Jason turned and ran, heart pounding. He raced through the halls, turning blindly. Finally, he burst into a library chamber, locked the door behind him. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His mind was spinning. Vexira, one of the queens he was bound to, was betraying the royal family and working with someone outside the planet. If he didn't expose her soon, the bond would be broken, and Earth could be blamed. The next day, the first trial began. Jason was brought to the Chamber of Insight, a glowing sphere that floated high in the palace tower. The queen sat above him, watching silently. Serenia explained the rules. "You will face illusions, memories, and fears," she said. "Only by understanding our truths, and your own, will you pass." Jason nodded, still shaken from last night. He entered the chamber alone. Light swallowed him. He saw Earth first, memories of his childhood, his failures, his regrets. Then Illyria, the sisters, the kiss, the danger, the marriage. Then came the illusion of Vexira, standing with a knife, whispering, "Do you think you're safe?" Jason stepped back, but this time he didn't run. He faced her, even though it wasn't really her. "She wants power," he said aloud. "But she won't get it." The illusion cracked, shattered like glass. Jason fell to his knees, dizzy but smiling. He had passed the first trial. When he stepped out of the chamber, Serenia gave him a rare nod. "Few survive the insight trial on their first attempt," she said. "You may be more than we expected." Later, in secret, Jason met with Elia in the garden. "I heard you were strong today," she smiled. "I also heard someone tried to kill you again." Jason looked at her carefully. "Do you trust all your sisters?" Elia paused, then looked away. "No," she said. "I trust most of them," Jason nodded. "Then we have the same problem." He leaned close and whispered what he had heard behind the door. Vexira's name, the outsider's voice, the plan. To break the bond, Elia's face went pale. "You need to be careful," she said. "She's more dangerous than she looks." Jason looked up at the stars. He had come to Illyria as a diplomat. Now he was a husband, a suspect, and maybe the only one who could stop a secret war, and the second trial hadn't even begun yet. The stars outside Jason's window looked peaceful, but inside the palace, his heart was at war. He had survived an assassination, passed a trial of the mind, and uncovered a hidden betrayal. Yet now, standing alone under a twin-moon sky, he was thinking about one thing: escape. The crown felt too heavy, the bond too strange. The royal family was falling apart, and he, a human diplomat, had become the center of a game he never chose to play. He moved through the palace halls at night, quiet as a shadow, no guards, no lights, just silence. Jason had memorized the layout from the maps in the library. He knew where the emergency pod hangars were. Small escape crafts, fast, silent, and untraceable. If he could reach one, he could be off Illyria in minutes. But as he turned the corner, something unexpected happened. A door opened on its own. Glowing faint blue, inside stood Rena, the warrior's sister, the one with the scar. She wasn't in armor this time, but in soft robes, standing by a small fire. "I thought you'd try to run," she said calmly. Jason froze. "Are you going to stop me?" She shook her head, walking slowly toward him. "No," she said. "I'm here to tell you why you shouldn't." Jason looked at her with caution. Rena had always been hard to read, silent, strong, dangerous. But now her voice was soft, almost vulnerable. "You think this bond is a trap," she said. "You think we forced you into something against your will." Jason nodded. "Am I wrong?" Rena sighed. "I didn't want this either. When the bond was declared, I was angry. Not at you, but at the law. But then I watched you, how you reacted, how you questioned, how you fought for truth." She stepped closer. "You didn't bow to us, Jason. You tried to understand us, even when one of us tried to kill you. And I realized something." Jason held his breath. "I started to care," Rena said quietly. "I didn't expect that, but it happened." Jason didn't know what to say. He had come here to run, and instead, someone he feared now confessed she trusted him. He looked into her eyes, seeing not a warrior now, but a woman carrying weight, a duty, a title, a burden, just like him. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. Rena turned away, looking out the window. "Because if you leave now, you'll never know which of us was ready to love you." Jason took a step back, his mind spinning. And that's when the ground shook, the walls vibrated with a low roar, red lights flashed, and sirens filled the palace halls. Jason and Rena turned at the same time. Something was wrong. A voice echoed through the chambers. "Warning. Unidentified vessel entering orbit. Shields failing. Prepare for impact." Jason ran with Rena down the corridor. Guards were shouting. Queens were being rushed to safe chambers. Through a window, Jason saw it. A dark ship descending from the sky. Not Illyrian, not human, something else. The palace was hit by a tremor. Part of the upper wing collapsed. Jason grabbed a fallen servant, pulling her to safety. Sparks rained from the ceiling as lights flickered and died. He turned and saw Elia, the youngest, trapped under a broken crystal beam. Without thinking, Jason rushed to her. He lifted the heavy crystal with help from Rena. Elia's leg was bleeding, her eyes wide with fear. "Jason," she whispered. "You came back," he smiled. "I wasn't finished." They carried her to the central chamber, where Serenia and the others were preparing a defense. "The attackers are from the Korth Empire," she said. "They want to break the bond and end our line." Jason's hands clenched into fists. He wasn't a soldier, but this wasn't just politics anymore. It was personal. "They're after me," he said. "Then let me fight." Serenia looked at him for a long moment, then handed him a glowing blade, part metal, part light. "Then protect your queens," she said. "Protect your new home." Outside, war was coming. Inside, Jason had chosen not to escape, but to embrace his strange fate, not just with duty, but with his heart. And somewhere in the shadows of the Korth ship, a familiar voice whispered, Let the human bleed, then let Illyria burn. Asterisk. The sky was burning. Flames curled above the royal towers, and the twin moons of Illyria reflected in smoke and ash. Screams echoed through the floating gardens, and distant battle cries came from the dark airships above. But in the center of it all stood one man, a human. Holding a blade of light, Jason Reed had come to this world as a diplomat. Now he stood as a consort, a warrior, and a symbol of unity. Whether he liked it or not, this world was now his home, and he was ready to bleed for it. The palace was under siege. The enemy, the Korth Empire, brutal conquerors known for devouring civilizations, had come for the Illyrian throne. And worse, someone from inside the royal family had helped them get in. Jason moved through the smoke with the royal guards. Beside him, Rena fought like fire, her double blades slicing through enemy drones. Elia limped behind, her wound treated but still fresh. The sisters had split to defend different wings of the palace, each now a battleground. Every moment was survival. Every breath was borrowed. Suddenly, Jason's communicator buzzed. It was Theline, the healer. Her voice panicked. "Jason, the Heartstone chamber, it's been breached. They're after the source, if they take it. The planet dies." Jason turned to Rena. "Where's Vexera?" Rena narrowed her eyes. "She went silent 10 minutes ago." Jason's stomach dropped. The betrayal he feared was happening. Now, they raced to the Heartstone chamber, the ancient room that powered the Illyrian world, built into the planet's core. It was made of living crystal, beating like a slow heart. But now it was dark, flickering, and cracked, and in the center stood Vexera, sword in hand. Face unreadable. "You shouldn't be here," she said. Jason stepped forward. "You sold your own people. You invited the Korth, just to stop the bond." Vexera's eyes flashed. "They wanted to erase the royal line," she said coldly. "I wanted to rewrite it, with me at the top." Behind her, a shadow moved, the Korth general. Tall and armored in bone, Jason gripped his blade tighter. "You won't win," he said. "Not while I'm still breathing." The fight was chaos. Jason and Rena lunged at the general, their blades clashing in bursts of light. Vexera tried to disable the Heartstone, but Elia appeared from the side, stopping her with a blast of energy. "I trusted you," Elia cried. "You were my sister." Vexera hesitated for the first time, just long enough. Jason struck the general down, his blade glowing bright as a sun. With a roar, the enemy collapsed, his armor breaking into dust, but the damage was done. The Heartstone was broken, not dead, but wounded, and it began to overload. "We need to get out," Rena shouted. Jason shook his head. "If this explodes, the palace is gone, the planet too." He looked at the Heartstone, then at the Queen's. "This bond, it made me yours," he said. "But now I make a choice of my own." He stepped toward the Heartstone, placing his hand on the crystal. Pain shot through his body. Light filled his chest. Memories, energy, voices, the very soul of Illyria moved through him, and slowly the Heartstone calmed. Jason collapsed to his knees, glowing, breathing hard. The overload stopped. The palace stood still again. Later, in the royal chamber, the sisters stood before him. Even Vexera, in chains, said nothing. Serenia walked forward and knelt. "You saved Illyria," she said softly. "You became more than consort. You became legend." The people of Illyria cheered in the sky. Their new hero was not born on their world, but he had fought for it like it was his own. Jason looked around at the sisters, each of them now standing not as rulers above him, but as equals beside him, and then Elia stepped close, took his hand and whispered, "There's one more ceremony left." Jason smiled. "Another trial?" She shook her head. "No," she said. "This time it's a wedding." It rained starlight on Illyria that day. Not water, but soft trails of glowing dust, falling like blessings from the sky. The war was over. The Heartstone had been saved. And Jason Reed was no longer a stranger. He was now part of Illyria's story, not in ink, but in flame. The palace had been rebuilt in less than a week. Illyrian architects used living crystal, whispering to the walls as they shaped themselves back into beauty. But this time, there were changes. A new wing stood at the heart of the palace, the Hall of Unity, and at its center, a statue of Jason, arms raised, holding the blade of light, the first human royal consort, and a symbol of peace between stars. But Jason wasn't thinking about statues. He stood on a balcony, breathing the cool morning air. His royal robes traded for simple cloth. The sun rose over the horizon in twin colors, gold and violet. He watched it with quiet eyes, holding a small note in his hand. It was from Earth. A letter from his sister, who had finally seen the ceremony broadcast across the galaxies. Her words were short. "You really married 6 aliens? Seriously?" Jason laughed, alone for a moment, but not for long. Footsteps echoed behind him, one by one. The queens arrived, not in armor, not in silk, but in light robes and bare feet. Elia was last, holding a small vine with white flowers that only bloomed during Bond Day. "It's time," she said softly. Jason turned, smiling. "No fire, no trials, no falling buildings?" She grinned. "Just vows." The garden where they gathered floated on a platform above the clouds. Illyrian traditions were strange. There was no priest, no ring, no music, only truth. Each sister placed a hand on Jason's, and he placed his over theirs. A golden light formed between them, not magic, not science, just pure connection. Serenia spoke first, her voice steady. "Do you accept the bond freely now, not by law, but by heart?" Jason answered, "I do." Then Elia stepped forward. She held a small crystal in her palm, not sharp, but round, pulsing with soft energy. She placed it in Jason's hand and said, "Then with this, you are not just ours. You are part of Illyria." When the bond was complete, the entire city lit up. Lights danced through the towers, the sky sang with glowing shapes. Every citizen, young and old, celebrated. Because for the first time, the stars weren't just watchers. They were family. Jason looked at the queens, each so different, yet bound by something bigger than rules. They weren't just leaders, they were survivors, warriors, healers, and now, his wives. He had come from a world where love was one-to-one. Now he lived in a world where love could be shared, not divided, and somehow it felt right. But just as the music began, and the sky calmed, a signal blinked on the palace screen. A ship was entering orbit. Not Illyrian, not Korth, and definitely not human. The queens turned, alert again. Jason stepped forward, reading the message. That appeared in glowing letters. "We are the Zirathi. Our youngest kissed a human too. Prepare the wedding hall." Jason stared at the screen, then looked at the queens. They all raised eyebrows. Elia laughed first. "Jason, what did you do before coming here?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. "I honestly don't remember." The camera zoomed out. Above Illyria, another ship began to descend, shaped like a giant wing, glowing with pink and green lights. Below it, the world watched with new eyes, and Jason sighed. "Not again," he whispered.